What's the deal, y'all? Mr. Roll It Up here with another Blunt Talk episode. And in this Blunt Talk episode, I'm going to talk about cannabis and it being legalized. Yes, that devil's lettuce. Do y'all think it will be legalized? And if so, when? And if not, why not? Now, this is when I say cannabis being legalized, I mean on a national, federal level. I don't mean on a state by state choice crap, whatever. I mean on nationally. Is cannabis going to be legalized? Will it be made so that you can go anywhere, just like alcohol? I can go in any state and buy alcohol. Will cannabis be like that, where you just got to have an ID saying you're 21 and older? What do you guys think? Because right now I got a article up on the screen that I'm looking at that says New York governor says, I believe we will legalize marijuana. Now, New York is New York. I mean, that's the Big Apple. That is, that's when people think of, if you go in other parts of the world, I feel like people know New York, but some people know New York before they know the United States. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but literally, it might, and maybe not though. I don't know. But I know it is pretty much, it's kind of like equal. It's like comparable. You know, I don't think there's any other state, even Washington, I don't think even compares um, to New York. You say New York to anyone, it's like anywhere in the world. I feel like they're gonna know something. It's gonna be like New York, yeah, Big Apple. Times Square, the Yankees, Jay-Z. You're like, like whatever. Um, and so as I jump back to this article, and I just it makes me feel good knowing that, like, this whole, like, I feel like this whole, and especially with everything going on right now around COVID-19, there hasn't really been as much talk about cannabis being legalized, and rightfully so, because of course, we got to make sure, our general health and whatnot is taken care of. But of course, as we mentioned in some of my other videos, if you've watched my other Blunt Talk episodes, there are studies with cannabis being used as a treatment to prevent COVID-19. So maybe this is a good time to be talking about this. Maybe it should be spoken on a legalized level. And maybe it should have never been made illegal in the first place. What do you guys think? Comment down below with your thoughts. And of course, as usual, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. Because as I jump back into this article, the governor of New York said on Friday that while the legislation hasn't been able to pass a marijuana legalization bill so far during this legislative session, he feels the issue will end up getting over the finish line sooner or later. Governor Andrew Cuomo was asked during a coronavirus update briefing why the state hasn't legalized cannabis as a way to generate revenue for economic relief rather than depend on federal funds. He seemed to take issue with the suggestion, arguing that it's the federal government's obligation as part of managing this national pandemic that they provide financial relief to state and local governments, just the way they take care of big corporations. And that is a great response, because that is exactly how, I mean, it's like we see big corporations get handouts, get support, get lifted whenever they need it, and they should. I get it. Yes, they do. Have thousands and millions of employees, which means Americans, which means they're helping our economy and everything. But at the same time, if they continue to just kind of give these huge, you know, uh, uh, if they're just paying out all of their executives and CEOs and whatnot some ridiculous amount of money, and then there's some sort of issue that happens like this, uh, and all of a sudden they can't even get themselves, out of 2 months or 3 months of not being able to really generate income. It's like, all right, something's off, something is wrong. Like, you don't deserve to be making the amount of money that you are making. And so that's a great response from him, you know but on marijuana reform, he said, I support legalization of marijuana passage. I've worked very hard to pass it. I believe we will, but we didn't get it done this last session because it's complicated. It's a complicated issue, and it has to be done in a comprehensive way. Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples Stokes made similar comments when asked about the policy last month, though she seemed to signal that she laid partial blame for the failure to enact reform on the governor prioritizing other issues during the pandemic. I would like to see the legislation of adult use cannabis happen. I still am a proponent of that, she said at the time, adding that she personally would like to see it move forward this year. I can't commit that it will because it's not my call whether or not things go on the floor or not, but I do know that it's something I'm pushing for. In terms of approving legislation through the budget, the majority leader said, I think the governor didn't want to be there right then because of shirting legislative priorities. Lawmakers and reform advocates had happened. No, excuse me. Lawmakers and reform advocates had hoped that legislation could be accomplished through the annual budget, and they held out hope all the way up to the April deadline, but it didn't happen. Cuomo, who has included legislation in his budget for 2 years in a row without seeing it enacted, indicated in April that he thought the legislation session was effectively over in general and raised doubts that lawmakers could pass cannabis reform vote remotely via video conferencing. But the legislature has not adjourned for the year yet, and lawmakers will reportedly meet next week to address COVID-19 related legislation and potentially other issues. And what is this? Meanwhile, a ban on pre-employment drug testing for marijuana for most workers in New York City went into effect last week, which is great, and that should be the case nationally. So there you guys have it. I mean, cannabis is, again, it's not really on being legalized. It's not really as much of a hot topic as it should be, I feel like. And especially as we look at the two candidates being brought to the table, I feel like that should be something, of course, Joe Biden's old fashioned and he ain't really for it. Trump was saying he'll let each state decide. To me, they're both not for it. They're both against it pretty much. So I don't think either of them should be president. Period. That's just my personal thought. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like this video, leave a thumbs up, comment down below with your thoughts about cannabis being legalized on a national level, and subscribe to the channel so y'all can stay up to date on my latest blunt talk videos. I rolled out my debut single from Mr. Roll It Up. You can check it out on all streaming platforms. We do have the audio visualizer here up on YouTube as well, and you guys already know what it is. I'm gonna start trying to release some more blunt rolling tutorial videos and stuff like that as well. So I'm gonna keep it rolling, keep it moving forward for you guys. And as usual, I'm gonna check you guys out in the next video. Peace.